نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد بسم الله. Today inshallah we will continue from ayat number 15 of Surah Muhammad. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. مثل الجنة التي وعد المتقون فيها أنهار من ماء غير آسن وأنهار من لبن لم يتغير طعمه وأنهار من خمر لذة للشاربين وأنهار من عسل مصفى ولهم فيها من كل الثمرات ومغفرة من ربهم كمن هو خالد في النار وسقوا ماء حميما فقطع أمعاءهم. Is a description of paradise which the righteous are promised, wherein are rivers of water unaltered, rivers of milk, the taste of which never changes, rivers of wine delicious to those who drink, and rivers of purified honey, in which they will have from all kinds of fruits and forgiveness from their Lord, like that of those who abide eternally in the fire and are given to drink boiling water that will sever their intestines. So the word غير آسن means غير متغير ولا منتن, so not change in smell. And this verse mentions 4 types of rivers in paradise: rivers of pure water, rivers of milk, rivers of wine, and rivers of purified honey. We also see references to these rivers in a narration narrated by Hakim bin Muawiyah from his father in Tirmidhi. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, "Inna fil jannati bahr al-ma'i wa bahr al-asali wa bahr al-labani wa bahr al-khamri thumma tushaqqaqu al-anharu ba'du." Indeed, in paradise there is a sea of water and a sea of honey and a sea of milk and a sea of wine. Then the rivers gush out of them afterwards. So let's go through each type of river separately. Water flowing in rivers of this world becomes polluted over time. It could be due to algae, due to sand, due to human waste, or many other reasons. And water in some of these rivers may even change color, taste, or smell because of such contamination. Compare that to the water in rivers of paradise, it would remain pure, fresh, and clean. Similarly, milk deteriorates quickly in this world if not kept at the right temperature. It becomes curd and loses its taste and texture. Compare that to the milk in paradise, it does not spoil and keeps its taste and consistency. Next, we look at the worldly wine, that it has a foul smell and a bitter taste. It also has after effects of headache, upsetting stomach, and intoxication. And by contrast, the wine in paradise is delicious and does not invoke any harmful side effects. And finally, honey is a rather unique substance in this world. It has both antibacterial and antioxidant qualities. And Quran regards honey as a shifa, cure, as it comes in Surah Nahl, ayat number 69. يَخْرُجُ مِن بُطُونِهَا شَرَابٌ مُخْتَلِفٌ أَلْوَانُهُ فِيهِ شِفَاءٌ لِلنَّاسِ. There emerges from their bellies, in bellies of bees, a drink varying in colors in which there is healing for people. However, even honey of this world has some challenges. It is not readily available in abundance, as an example. Honey requires a process to extract from hives, and it needs to be purified from wax. If you leave it for a long time, you also notice that honey gets crystallized. Compare that to honey in paradise, it will be pure of any wax or other substance, and it will be flowing abundantly in rivers, ready to be consumed without any concern of crystallization. Reflecting again on the verse, although we have learned about the 4 types of rivers in paradise in comparison with the corresponding substances in this world, we should not forget how the blessings of paradise will be unique, unlike anything we have experienced before. As it comes in Surah Sajda, ayat number 17, فلا تعلم نفس ما أخفي لهم من قرة أعين جزاء بما كانوا يعملون. And no soul knows what has been hidden for them of comfort for eyes as reward for what they used to do. And then in a narration narrated by Abu Hurairah Muslim, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, and this is a hadith Qudsi, قال الله عز وجل أعددت لعبادي الصالحين ما لا عين رأت ولا أذن سمعت ولا خطر على قلب بشر. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I have prepared for my pious servants which no eye has ever seen, no ear has ever heard, and no human heart has ever perceived. So such are the blessings of paradise, although Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us some description here for our understanding, but their qualities and their characteristics are very unique that are not experienced in this world at all. Continuing on with the last part of the verse, كَمَنْ هُوَ خَالِدٌ فِي النَّارِ وَسُقُوا مَاءً حَمِيمًا فَقَطَّعَ أَمْعَاءَهُمْ. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after describing the rewards of righteous people, contrasts them with people of hellfire and mentions punishments for them. So the word hamiman means boiling, and am'a'ahum, or the word am'a, is the plural of mi'yun, meaning intestines. So when people of hellfire get thirsty, they will be given extremely boiling water, which they will drink in abundance, even though it will be painful and toxic to them, to the point where it would sever their intestines. وَيَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ. So we make dua, Allahumma inna nas'aluka al-jannah wa na'udhu min an-nar. Ameen. ومنهم من يستمع إليك حتى إذا خرجوا من عندك قالوا للذين أوتوا العلم ماذا قال آنفا أولئك الذين طبع الله على قلوبهم واتبعوا أهواءهم. Among them, O Muhammad, are those who listen to you until when they depart from you, they say to those who were given knowledge, what has he said just now? Those are the ones of whom Allah has sealed over their hearts and who have followed their own desires. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes the behavior of hypocrites, that even though they used to sit before Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and listen to his words, they didn't get the message. Later on, they used to ask Sahaba, what did Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam just say right now? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us a reason why hypocrites were in this state, that they followed their own desires. And the truth is that they had no intention of understanding the message. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hence sealed their hearts to accept guidance. وَالَّذِينَ اهْتَدَوْا زَادَهُمْ هُدًى وَآتَاهُمْ تَقْوَاهُمْ. And as for those who accept guidance, He increases them in guidance and bestows on them their righteousness. Meaning those people who seek guidance, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala facilitates it for them and makes them firm on it and gives them even more. فَهَلْ يَنظُرُونَ إِلَّا السَّاعَةَ أَن تَأْتِيَهُمْ بَغْتَةً فَقَدْ جَاءَ أَشْرَاطُهَا فَأَنَّى لَهُمْ إِذَا جَاءَتْ ذِكْرَاهُمْ. Then do they await except the hour should come upon them unexpectedly? But already there have come some of its indications. Then when it actually is upon them, how can they benefit then by their remembrance? So the word baghtah means suddenly, unexpectedly. And ashratuha, the word ashrat, is a plural of shart, meaning signs. And here it's referencing the signs of Qiyamah. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, as he was sent to this world, his advent itself, being the last prophet of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, is a major sign that Day of Judgment has approached near. Narrated by Anas radhiyallahu anhu, Muslim, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, "Bu'ithtu ana wa sa'atu kahatayn, qala wa dhamma as-sababata wal wusta." Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, "I and the last hour have been sent like this." And while he was saying it, he joined the forefinger with the middle finger. Just like these two fingers are connected, joined together, such is the closeness of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam coming to this world and the Day of Judgment. And we have many narrations that give us details of the major signs and the minor signs of Qiyamah. We'll go through some of those narrations now. Narrated by Hudayfa bin Usayd, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, لا تقوم الساعة حتى تكون 10 آيات. The hour will not begin until 10 signs appear. What are those signs? The rising of the sun from the west, Dajjal, the smoke, the beast, Gog and Magog, the appearance of Isa alayhi salam, the earth collapsing 3 times, one in the east, one in the west, and one in the Arabian Peninsula, and fire that emerges from the plain of Aden and will drive the people to the place of gathering, to the Hashra, stopping with them when they stop at night and when they stop to rest at midday. So those are the 10 major signs that are regarding the final hour. What are the minor signs? And we see them already all around us. Narrated by Anas in Bukhari, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, لا تقوم الساعة وإما قال من أشراط الساعة أن يرفع العلم ويظهر الجهل ويشرب الخمر ويظهر الزنا ويقل الرجال ويكثر النساء حتى يكون لل50 امرأة القيم الواحد. The hour will not be established, or Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, from among the signs of the hour is removal of knowledge, widespread ignorance, pervasive drinking of alcohol, prevalence of fornication, a small number of men and large number of women, such that 50 women will have 1 man to look after them. So again, there are many narrations that go into other signs, but the bottom line is a lot of the minor signs are quite obvious. And as Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, by him being sent to this world already is an indication that the day of judgment is near. In the last part of the verse, فَأَنَّا لَهُمْ إِذَا جَاءَتْهُمْ ذِكْرَاهُمْ, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is explaining that when day of judgment comes and the truth becomes evident and people realize that they ignored the guidance available to them, this remembrance and understanding will be of no benefit. So while you are living in this world and the signs are before you, if you don't take heed from those signs and don't take action, don't change your behavior, then when you understand and realize on that day when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make things clear, that remembrance will not help. In Surah Fajr, ayat number 23, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يَوْمَ إِذٍ يَتَذَكَّرُ الْإِنسَانُ وَأَنَّى لَهُ ذِكْرًا. On that day will man remember. But how will that remembrance avail him? A simple example from this world, just to understand how remembrance at a later time does not help, could be of a student who attended classes where a professor clearly explained him various concepts and even told him the questions that will be on the examination paper. But this student does not pay any attention at that time. When he fails his exam and his report card is given to him along with the answer sheet, he exclaims, I remember now, I recall what my professor taught me. But do you think that will change anything for him at that time? Will anyone in their right mind expect that this student should be given another chance to write the same exam and he should be given a passing grade? Definitely not. Such will be the regret and remorse of a person on the day of judgment who failed the test of life. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save us from such a terrible end and instead make us among the successful ones. Ameen. فَاعْلَمْ أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهُ وَاسْتَغْفِرْ لِذَنبِكَ وَلِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ وَاللَّهُ يَعْلَمُ مُتَقَلَّبَكُمْ وَمَثْوَاكُمْ. So know, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that there is no deity except Allah, and ask forgiveness for your sin and for the believing men and believing women, and Allah knows of your movement and of your resting place. In this verse, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is commanded to understand that there is no deity worthy of worship except Allah. So the obvious question that comes to mind is, why is he being asked? As a messenger, he should be aware already of this fact, since oneness of Allah is core to the message of prophethood. Scholars explain that this could be to underscore the importance of being steadfast in worship, or perhaps to emphasize that he must fulfill the demands of his knowledge. Wallahu a'lam. The scholars also highlight a pattern in this verse that it first commands to acquire knowledge and then it asks to fulfill its associated demands. So the command is فَعْلَمْ أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. That's a command. And then what's the demand? أَسْتَغْفِرْ لِذَنْبِكَ. So know that there is no God except Allah, and then ask forgiveness for your sin. And this pattern comes in many places within Quran. In Surah Hadid, ayat number 20 and 21, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يَعْلَمُوا أَنَّمَا الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا لَعِبٌ وَلَهْوٌ. So this was the command to learn or to know, and then after that there's a demand. سَابِقُوا إِلَى مَغْفِرَةٍ مِّن رَبِّكُمْ وَجَنَّةٍ. So coming back to the verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَعْلَمْ أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهُ وَاسْتَغْفِرْ لِذَنْبِكَ. Notice, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is enjoining Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam to ask for forgiveness. So that's the demand here. But we know that he is infallible and immune from sins, being ma'asum. So what should we understand from this part of the verse? We are aware of the misjudgment from some prophets in ijtihad. For example, Yunus alayhi salam, when he left his nation early in anticipation of the punishment. But these acts are not regarded as sins when committed by the prophets. Rather, they are a means of learning for others and part of the duty of the prophet. Similarly, with Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we learn in Surah Abasa about the dislike of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon how Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam treated a blind questioner, and that person was Abdullah bin Maktoum. So these types of faults are perhaps referred to here in this verse as dhanb. Again, Allah knows best. Regardless, in the context of forgiveness, we find many du'as from Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam that we should make a habit of asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for our own forgiveness. Narrated by Abu Hurairah anhu, Tirmidhi, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, إِنِّي لَأَسْتَغْفِرُ فِي الْيَوْمِ 70 مرة. Indeed, I ask for forgiveness 70 times a day. Subhanallah. And this is the Nabi Allah. Imagine how much we need to ask for forgiveness. And then a couple more du'as narrated by Abu Musa al-Ashri in Bukhari. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Allahumma ghfir li khati'ati wa jahdi wa israfi fi amri wa ma anta a'lamu bihi minni. Allahumma ghfir li hazli wa jiddi wa khataya wa amadi wa kullu dhalika indi. And then another dua in Sunan Abi Dawud narrated by Ali radhiyallahu anhu. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam had asked, Allahumma ghfir li ما قدمت وما أخرت وما أسررت وما أعلنت وما أسررت وما أنت أعلم به مني أنت المقدم وأنت المؤخر لا إله إلا أنت. Coming back to the verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَاللَّهُ يَعْلَمُ مُتَقَلَّبَكُمْ وَمَثْوَاكُمْ. So the word مُتَقَلَّبَكُمْ meaning مُتَصَرَّفَكُمْ حَيْثُ تَتَحَرَّكُونَ, your actions when you move. And مثواكم مقامكم حيث تستقرون, your location when you rest. Meaning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows how you have spent your day and where you settle at night. As it also comes in Surah An'am, ayat number 60, وَهُوَ الَّذِي يَتَوَفَّاكُمْ بِاللَّيْلِ وَيَعْلَمُ مَا جَرَحْتُمْ بِالنَّهَارِ. It is He who takes your souls by night when you are asleep and has knowledge of all that you have done by day. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has full knowledge and awareness of our actions at all times, whether in public or private, and whether in full daylight or in the darkness of night. We commit sins many times a day, and whether the people are aware of our faults or not, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows them in full detail. Hence, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us to seek forgiveness in this verse. Let's quickly review ayats 15 to 19. So we learn about the 4 types of rivers in paradise: rivers of water, milk, wine, and honey. The Day of Judgment has major and minor signs, which are mentioned here about ashratuha. Seeking forgiveness is required for all believers. When Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam had been commanded to seek forgiveness, definitely we are more in need of that forgiveness. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is aware of all our actions committed in broad daylight or pitch dark night. وَيَقُولُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا لَوْلَا نُزِّلَتْ سُورَةٌ فإذا أنزلت سورة محكمة وذكر فيها القتال رأيت الذين في قلوبهم مرض ينظرون إليك نظر المغشي عليه من الموت فأولى لهم طاعة وقول معروف فإذا عزم الأمر فلو صدقوا الله لكان خيرا لهم. Those who believe say, why has the surah not been sent down? But when a precise surah is revealed and fighting is mentioned therein, you see those in whose hearts is hypocrisy, looking at you with a look of one overcome by death. And more appropriate for them would have been obedience and good words. And when the matter of fighting was determined, if they had been true to Allah, it would have been better for them. So the word muhkamatun literally means firm. And although here reference to a single surah is made, this is true for all surahs in Quran, then they're muhkam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that believers were hoping that jihad would be legislated. But when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordained jihad, many people turned their back due to fear, terror, and cowardice. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also mentioned this in Surah Nisa, ayat number 77. فَلَمَّا كُتِبَ عَلَيْهِمُ الْقِتَالُ إِذَا فَرِيقٌ مِّنْهُمْ يَخْشَوْنَ النَّاسَ كَخَشْيَةِ اللَّهِ أَوْ أَشَدَّ خَشْيَةً وَقَالُوا رَبَّنَا لِمَا كَتَبْتَ عَلَيْنَا الْقِتَالَ لَوْلَا أَخَّرْتَنَا إِلَىٰ أَجَلٍ قَرِيبٍ. But when fighting was ordained for them, at once a party of them feared men as they fear Allah, or with even greater fear. They said, Our Lord, why have you decreed upon us fighting? If only you had postponed it for us for a short time. فَهَلْ عَسَيْتُمْ إِن تَوَلَّيْتُمْ أَن تُفْسِدُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَتُقَطِّعُوا أَرْحَامَكُمْ أُولَٰئِكَ الَّذِينَ لَعَنَهُمُ اللَّهُ فَأَصَمَّهُمْ وَأَعْمَى أَبْصَارَهُم. So would you perhaps, if you turned away, cause corruption on earth and sever your ties of relationship? Those who do so are the ones that Allah has cursed, so He deafened them and blinded their vision. So the word tawalla could have two meanings. First meaning would be turning away, i'rad. The verse can be interpreted as, if you turn away from commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for example, jihad, then would you also go back to the old practices of Jahiliyyah, which included corruption and severing ties with family? That's the first meaning. The second meaning would be given in terms of authority, bilaya. So the interpretation of the verse becomes that if you are placed in the position of authority over people, would you cause corruption on earth and break family ties and kinship? This verse describes a general prohibition of spreading corruption on earth and a very specific prohibition of severing ties of kinship. The word arhamakum is translated as your relations and is a plural of the word rahim, and it means mother's womb. Womb is a place where baby is conceived and remains protected until birth, where it is nourished, developed, and cared for. Since birth is the source of relationships, the word raham is also idiomatically used to refer to human relationship and kinship. Islam has placed special importance to fulfilling the rights of blood relationship, Zawil Arham. As we learn in these verses, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has cursed those who sever ties. أُولَٰئِكَ الَّذِينَ لَعَنَهُمُ اللَّهُ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala curses them who break their family ties. And when we look at narrations, there are many, many narrations that warn against harms of breaking ties with family relations. Let's look at some of them here. So what are the harms? One of them is entry to Jannah gets blocked. Narrated by Jubair bin Mut'im in Sunan Abi Dawud, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, لا يدخل الجنة قاطع رحم. Anyone who cuts off relationships from his nearest relatives will not enter paradise. Second harm, hardships and challenges are experienced. So narrated by Abu Bakr in Tirmidhi, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, ما من ذنب أجدر أن يعجل الله لصاحبه العقوبة في الدنيا مع ما يدخر له في الآخرة من البغي وقطيعة الرحم. There is no sin more worthy of Allah's hastening and the punishment upon its practitioner, the one who does it, in the world, along with what is in store for him in the hereafter, then tyranny and severing the ties of kinship. SubhanAllah. So if whoever breaks the ties of family gets not only punished in this world through hardships, but also has something waiting for him in the hereafter, which is even more severe. So these were harms of breaking ties. What about the benefit of keeping relationships? What we learn is keeping relationships increases your sustenance and prolongs life. Narrated by Anas bin Malik in Bukhari, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, "Man ahabba an yubsata lahu fi rizqihi wa yunsa'a lahu fi atharihi falyasil rahimahu." Whoever loves that he be granted more wealth and that his lease of life be prolonged, then he should keep good relations with his relatives. And finally, what does it really mean to maintain good ties? It comes in another narration narrated by Abdullah bin Amr in Bukhari. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, "Laysa al-wasilu bil-mukafi, walakin al-wasilu alladhi idha qata'at rahimuhu wasalaha." So al-wasil, the one who connects with his family, is not the one who recompenses the good done to him by his relatives. But al-wasil is the one who keeps good relations with those relatives who had severed the bond of kinship with him. Let's understand this point. This is very different from common understanding people have about maintaining relationships on the basis of equality. If someone does good to us and we do good back to them, that's the general understanding of maintaining good relationship. But the true test of your effort to keep ties comes when a person in your close family stops talking to you, avoids meeting you, does not engage with you in times of happiness, let's say in a family wedding, or times of sorrow, like someone passing away in the family. These are just examples. There could be so many occasions which make it clear to you that this person has severed ties with you. Now, you would be considered wasil if you continue to reach out to such a person and continue to show your love and respect and care towards them. Then you have really met the meaning of being someone who connects. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us the ability to fulfill the rights of the Dhul Arham. Ameen. أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنَ أَمْ عَلَىٰ قُلُوبٍ أَقْفَالُهَا. Then do they not reflect upon the Qur'an, or are there locks upon their hearts? So the word aqfal is the plural of quful, meaning locks. Similar to the meaning of other terms in Qur'an, like khatama, taba'a. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the word aqfal here in the sense that disbelievers who stubbornly refuse to comprehend the truth, and as a consequence, their ability to distinguish right from wrong gets diminished, such disbelievers will actually have their hearts permanently locked from accepting guidance. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ ارْتَدُّوا عَلَىٰ أَدْبَارِهِمْ مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا تَبَيَّنَ لَهُمُ الْهُدَى الشَّيْطَانُ سَوَّلَ لَهُمْ وَأَمْلَى لَهُمْ. Indeed, those who reverted back to disbelief after guidance had become clear to them, Shaitan enticed them and prolonged hope for them. So the word irtaddu, meaning they have departed from faith and returned to disbelief. And here Allah describes two actions of Shaitan. One of them is sawwala yusawwilu taswil, to make evil acts of apostasy appear as good deeds. And amla yumli imla, meaning to prolong false hope. So those are the two ways that Shaitan could entice someone, could attract someone, and take them out of the light of belief into darkness of disbelief and make them an apostate. And Allah will protect us and our progeny as well. Ameen. ذلك بأنهم قالوا للذين كرهوا ما نزل الله سنطيعكم في بعض الأمر والله يعلم إسرارهم. That is because they said to those who disliked what Allah sent down, we will obey you in part of the matter, and Allah knows what they conceal. Meaning the hypocrites used to say to disbelievers that they will cooperate with the disbelievers in plotting against Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and other matters where they could harm Muslims, and not going for jihad. فكيف إذا توفتهم الملائكة يضربون وجوههم وأدبارهم. Then how would it be when the angels take them in death, striking their faces and their backs? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is describing the harsh treatment to disbelievers at the time of death, that angels will be hitting them on their faces and their backs while their soul is being taken. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also describes the same in Surah Al-Fal, ayat number 50. وَلَوْ تَرَى يَتَوَفَّى الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا الْمَلَائِكَةُ يَضْرِبُونَ وُجُوهَهُمْ وَأَدْبَارَهُمْ وَذُوقُوا عَذَابَ الْحَرِيقِ. And if you could see when the angels take away the souls of those who disbelieve at death, they smite their faces and their backs, saying, taste the punishment of the blazing fire. ذلك بأنهم اتبعوا ما أسخط الله وكرهوا رضوانه فأحبط أعمالهم. That is because they followed what angered Allah and disliked what earns His pleasure, so He rendered worthless their deeds. Let's quickly review ayats 20 to 28. Spreading corruption on earth and breaking family ties is forbidden. Hearts of stubborn disbelievers are locked from receiving guidance and understanding of Quran. Shaitaan deceives people through enticement and prolonging their false hopes. And finally, disbelievers will be harshly treated at the time of death, and their punishment will start immediately. We'll stop here, inshallah. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم